Joining us now, Congressman, 7th District Republican Dave Brat. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Hey, John, thanks for having me on. I heard your prior remarks. You were right on the money.
It's just very frustrating. You know what? We can fight internally, and we're going to disagree, and that's fine. But when you've got a political action committee funded by the Speaker of the House targeting your own because they believe in something, I'll tell you what. I don't know how well you know Congressman Griffith, but that guy's solid. Yeah, he's a man of his word. And if he's standing for something, it's because that's what he really believes.
Yep.
And he's representing the people of Southwest Virginia. And I think for him to get targeted in an ad by his own leadership on it is reprehensible.
Yep. Let me add two things to that. What was not funded were ads against the Senate and Republican Democrats who would not put up a fight against an unconstitutional piece. So we used our money to go after our own in-house guys when we promised for the last 2 months we'd fight tooth and nail against President Obama's unconstitutional overreach. And let me add, there's a new headline out on Drudge, came in last night, and you won't believe it. Right? You want to talk about red lines, et cetera. So we're taking it to our own guys on principle, who are standing strong on principle, on the Constitution. Last night, reported at Drudge, go check it out, Josh Earnest, the spokesman for the White House, said President Obama is, in quotes, and forgive me if I have that wrong, but seriously considering, end quote, using his executive authority to raise taxes.
Is that
right?
Unbelievable?
So that's next.
Right.
And so everybody's saying, hey, there's this group of freedom guys who don't get politics. George Will is saying that. All the usual media commentators are saying this. The Democrats are doing sound points that we're going to defund Homeland Security. They're all wrong, right? The truth comes out in the end. It always does. It may take a while. You may suffer in the short run. In the end, the truth comes out, and it came out like a stick of dynamite last night with that phrase from Josh Earnest out of the White House. He's going to use his executive authority, strongly considering, to raise taxes. That means there's no upper bound on the president's authority. The Congress might as well not even be in business.
No, you might as well just dissolve the Congress and spend the money on something else. That's basically what's happening now, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's going to take people a while to digest what's going on, because I've been talking to the press in the hallways. They won't cover it. Right? I said, cover this for 3 years. This amnesty issue. It started off as cheap labor. And go even further back to Obamacare, right? Obama, I think, has overstepped his executive authority on that 22 times, something like that.
Right.
And so this is just the beginning of the timeline. The press has been derelict. We have our senators in Virginia who won't even allow a debate to come up. One of them, I think, is a Harvard Law graduate,
yes,
who knows better.
King.
And the other one's plenty smart guy, and they promise to be transparent and do the will of the people. They will not let the bill come up. So it's nothing personal against the guys. They've both been very gracious to me, but when it comes to a constitutional issue, this rises to a whole nother level. The Democrats are all in. They're totally loyal to their party, but they're not being loyal, in this case, to the Constitution.
Well, I was saying that earlier. It's just amazing how the Democrats, even after getting clobbered in the midterms, they lost 9 U.S. Senate seats and I think 13 in the House. You look at every polling number out there, they got absolutely shellacked, and they're still winning, and they still are on the engine of what's going on. And meantime, where our leadership's eating its own. Congressman, I want to bring attention to our listeners. You had an op-ed the other day, I believe on Friday, in the Richmond Times-Dispatch that I thought was a brilliantly written piece, if I may.
Thank you.
And you called it the shell game, and just kind of outline to our listeners what you were meaning by that.
Right. Well, and just to be clear, the House fully funded Homeland Security in our bill. So our bill fully funds Homeland Security and then defunds only President Obama's what are called the Johnson memos, the unconstitutional piece. So you've got that, and then we move it over to the Senate. the Senate was going to take up and try to send back a clean bill to defund, to fully fund Obamacare, including the unconstitutional part, but then send over a separate bill and say, hey, but we're going to fight this thing later, right?
Right.
And so we'll also send you another bill over where we'll fight against the president's unconstitutional overreach. Of course, that bill will never make it past the 60-vote threshold and will never see the light of day. And so the House knew better, and Speaker Boehner said, "No way, right? We're going to fight this thing." And so that's the shell game, right? The Senate has the incumbency protection plan down to a science. Mm-hmm. They know how to put a bill across. That's 100% written in their terms to appease the Democrats, but will not fight for our constitutional principles at all.
So what's the go-forward plan now? I mean, everybody knows that John Boehner, our speaker, is going to clean DHS funding bill to the floor. It appears from what Pelosi has said and her lieutenant that This is going to be a reality. Maybe they cut a deal, maybe they didn't. But at the end of the day, that's going to pass, and that'll be done. What happens after that?
Well, I'm an eternal optimist. We have until Wednesday or so on this, and after that announcement came from the White House last night, I honestly think that puts our leadership into a whole nother realm of calculation. If they don't see what's coming down the road after that announcement, then we're beyond repair. But they do. They know what's coming. They're smart, and so we'll be throwing our Republican principles and the Constitution out the door if we don't stand and fight on this one, because it's just been announced. There's an assault on the separation of powers by this White House last night.
So how would President Obama be able to raise taxes? Taxes can only get raised by Congress, the House, right?
Well, I mean, that's what we said about Obamacare, and it was a fee versus a tax, and so they'll use language, and now Obamacare is coming up again. It's in plain ink, right? It's in plain black and white formal language that, about this state exchanges are the only ones who can do such and such. It says that right in there. And so you say, how can they do it? Well, they're doing it. And they're doing it because the House won't stand up and fight for the Constitution and the rule of law. And so this is how civilizations start to go downhill. Mm-hmm. And we're beyond starting.
What do you look for in about 2 hours after of Israel addressing joint session? What do you look for today in Bibi's speech, Dave?
Yeah, well, he knows it's the biggest speech of our lifetime in terms of the U.S.-Israel relationship, and so I think he's going to go beyond just what we expect. I think he's going to give some new. I mean, I'm just guessing, right? I don't want to. But my best guess is he's going to announce a new timeline that shows what a serious and imminent threat Iran's nuclear capacity is, and he's going to put it out before the world and tell us what actions will have to be taken before they reach that point, and why he's taken this opportunity to come to us and explain this to us. So I expect some new information that's going to make us sit up straight and pay attention because it'll scare the daylights out of us. When your enemy, right, some people are still debating whether ISIS is a threat to us or Iran is a threat to us. And basically, when your enemy puts it on paper that they want to destroy you, so they have the intent and then the capability to do it, I say they're a threat.
If you look at Obama's amnesty, the IRS is now saying, we talked about this at CPAC, the Internal Revenue Service is now saying, look, they're going to have Social Security cards, driver's license, work permits. They're going to be eligible for earned income tax credits. But now what we've seen is that there's no way to stop illegals from participating in the electoral process. And there's a lot of people who think that this was a scheme from day one. But are there Republicans that you're talking to that are fearful that these 5, 6, 7, 8 million illegals that are going to end up with earned income tax credit, Obamacare, Obama phone, everything else, every other entitlement, Social Security, disability that we have, that they're not going to get signed up and turn out and then back the people that obviously enabled them. How do you stop that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what you get. I mean, they've crossed the red line. We drew a red line. We said no. Number one, on the underlying policy issue on immigration, right? We differ there because you'll be violating the rule of law, and that logic will extend forward. And then on the constitutional piece, and so no, I mean that's exactly what's at stake. And by the way, there is a curiosity. The judges, and we've heard from even people up to the Supreme Court on this, and I won't name names, but the best jurists in the country. And there is an issue with this authority. And that's why last night's email from the White House is so important. If they raise taxes, right? That's the previous examples you just gave don't require new taxes to be raised. So the other side can say there's no harm. No, you can't show any harm to the taxpayer because we can just shift money around or something. I mean, and I'm just giving the benefit of the doubt story.
Right.
But it'll move beyond even that. Another red line will be crossed to, well, they let us do that. Let's go more. I mean, it is just appeasement. From us, we're talking about President Obama's weakness on foreign policy and, Chamberlain and appeasement examples coming up left and right. And we're apparently doing the same thing here on domestic policy. We're caving one line after the other until the rule of law. And the other day, some of my colleagues, Trey Gowdy, went to the floor and said, reminding liberals, right, that they stand in this proud tradition of rule of law too, right? And he said, you'll rue the day when you give up the rule of law. Right now, you may think you're getting some temporary short-term advantage, but you will rue the day. Mm-hmm. And everybody, minorities, everyone will rule the day when the rule of law is no longer in force. We don't realize what a blessing it's been to this country and what it's given us for the last 200 years. And to see that chipped away at, it is a scary thought.
Chipped away is an understatement. I mean, the president's trampling on it.
Right now,
no question. Right. Final thing, I know you have to take off. The Congressional Budget Office, which pretty much tries to be nonpartisan, says all these immigration actions is going to raise the federal deficit by another $1 trillion over 10 years' time. And that's a moderate estimate. There's absolutely no one talking about this $18 trillion debt that we have, $127 trillion of unfunded liabilities.
Yep.
That isn't even now part of the debate.
Yep. No, good for you. I mean, you're the odd press person out, right, that actually brings up substantive issues like the debt and the unfunded liability. I walk up and down the halls all day, Politico, roll call, everybody, Washington Post, telling them all of these issues are interlinked. It is a harm, right? So you're putting your finger on the judges want to get off easy, so they don't have to get in the middle of it. They say there's no harm. No, there is a harm. We're putting this on the backs of our kids. And the Democrats always say they're interested in the kids, except when they're putting $18 trillion in debt on them and $127 trillion in unfunded liabilities. And so, no, there's clear harm. And so, you're doing the right thing. Just get the word out to the people. Now, that's the new thing, right? Even the smart people in the room are confusing cause and effect. They think I won some election, right? Like I had some strategy or something. That's not what happened. The people put me in office. The people are finding out what's going on. They're not happy with the status quo and they want change. And so that's the good news.
You know what? I'm going to leave you with a statement from your colleague, 5th District. We had him on earlier, Congressman Robert Hurt, who earlier on our show said that the Democrats in the Senate missed the midterms, and he said that this argument that, well, the Republicans don't want to do away with the antiquated cloture rule because they could be in the minority in 2016. Congressman Hurt just on our show said if the Republicans are in the minority in 2016, it's because the people put them there.
Yeah.
And it should be the people's choice and not the Senate institution.
Yep.
Is he right?
Yeah, you can trace about every issue back to that, right? You can just look at it's just always follow the money on any issue, right? In Virginia, go out to VPAP, the Virginia Public Access Project, any issue you want to look at. Who's supporting me? Who's not supporting me? Who's supporting who? Just go follow the money on any issue. And have your high school kids do it and your college kids do it. It's a great project because there's politics. right? And so what we've been missing for the past couple decades is the American people. They're waking up, and we had a resounding victory, but D.C. still has not got the memo.
They haven't gotten the memo. We're out of time. We want to thank Congressman Dave Brat for being with us. If you want more information, here's all you have to do. Go to Brat, BART.house.gov, brat.house.gov. Thanks, Dave.